Hi everybody, and greetings on this Monday, the 20th day of July. And I can't tell you how indeed good it is to be back. So I hope that you've had a wonderful weekend, and thanks for starting off your week with us this evening. And I've got a great deal of ground to cover, and I'll be covering a little bit about my absence, as well as how fortunate we were to have some folks picking up the slack therein. So vacation, much needed vacation, mind you, that also fell on Lacey's 16th birthday, which was part of the reasoning for it. Took us to Florida for a few days. A few days prior, when we realized we were leaving, I put out a search trying to find someone to sit in and keep the lights on, any breaking news that might transpire, anything of that nature, community calendar announcements and things that just needed to be on, nothing that drastic. And I made a call to a few folks, and Dalton Thane Howard, just a graduate of the McGoffin County High School. His name kept coming up, and I spoke with several teachers and educators, and they said he is an outstandingly brilliant young man. It would be great. Does that sort of thing for the high school and has for quite some time. He came in, we sat down for a couple of hours and told him just, hit the high spots. That's all we need to do till I get back. Not knowing what a monumental week was ahead of himself, or for everyone certainly in Johnson County who will be recovering for a lifetime after the flooding that, of course, is well versed at this point. So I'm so glad that he was able to get in and be able to cover the news to the extent that he did. And it's my understanding that he did an outstanding job, and it really got better as the week progressed. And we also couldn't have done it without Ronnie Blair of Johnson County. He was filming some meetings for us for a while, but he also went out into the field on a couple of occasions. So I can't tell those two how thankful I am for them being here in my absence. I can recall back years ago when I first started the show, didn't want to leave because I didn't want to miss anything. One of the first weekends that I actually left town, we had a plane crash in McGoffin County, perhaps the one and only time that it'll happen in my lifetime. And it's every time that I leave town, I have that same sensation of concern, because not being here is something that really gets, it's a pretty big deal for me. And to not be here for all that news certainly weighed heavy on my heart and on my mind, certainly for all those folks in Johnson County, the stories and the videos that I was keeping up through Facebook and personal posts that folks were sending me. Just, well, you've seen them, you understand. The recovery is still ongoing, and I've got some video of what it looks like 1 week later. We'll talk about some recovery efforts and how you can help, and I'll be diving in and heading over tomorrow. We'll be talking with some folks in Johnson County and finding out more about what is happening now about a week later. And a whole lot of other news to get to this evening. Once again, I want to thank Dalton. And by the way, I don't know if he mentioned it or not, but he's actually just a graduate of the high school, and he's headed off to UK this fall with hopes of going into the medical program. And I have no doubt that he will not reach all of his goals and dreams. An outstandingly brilliant young man, as a lot of folks told me. We wish him well. We also hope that maybe he'll be able to come back and maybe sit in maybe next summer. That's my hope. I haven't laid that one on him as of yet. One thing from national headlines that I want to get to before I go any further real quickly, and that is that President Obama is wanting to keep people who are collecting Social Security benefits from owning guns if he says that they're unable to manage their own affairs to some degree. A report out in the LA Times has since circled the nation now. The push, which could potentially affect millions whose monthly disability benefits are handled by others, is intended, he says, or says his administration, to bring the Social Security Administration in line with laws that prevent gun sales to felons, drug addicts, immigrants in the United States illegally, and others. The language of the federal gun laws restricts ownership to people who are unable to manage their own affairs due to marked subnormal intelligence or mental illness, incompetency, condition, or disease, which could potentially affect a large group within the Social Security Administration. If Social Security, which historically has never taken part in the background check system, follows those same standards as the Department of Veterans Affairs, which is what they are proposing, millions of beneficiaries could be affected, and I think it's right around 4.5 million adults, 4.5 million adults receiving monthly benefits that are managed by what is referred to as representative payees. This latest move is part of the efforts by the president to strengthen gun control, of course, as he says, following the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre in 2012. Critics are already blasting the plan, saying that expanding the list of people who cannot own guns based on financial competence is just simply going in the wrong direction. Here in local headlines tonight, I've got an update, as one of my first calls this morning back into the studio was to find out if there were any developments in regards to the Kentucky Court of Appeals case filed on behalf of the McGoffin County Board of Elections and Charles Hardin. I've got an update there. I've got some flood footage. We've got an announcement and a reminder about an event set for later on this week at the Johnson Central High School in an effort for flood relief, an auto accident, and much more to cover before I leave you, so stay tuned. We'll pick up headlines right after these words. To get high-speed internet on their state-of-the-art fiber optic network for all of your home and business solutions, or to watch TV without a contract on over 200 digital channels with superb quality, or stay connected with family and friends with 24/7 telephone service you can always depend on, contact Foothills Broadband today. Or just click on their link to the right to find out how they're working to provide the latest in communications at affordable prices with exceptional service at Foothills Broadband. As they have been all around Kentucky and elsewhere for days, of course, flooding, relief, and recovery efforts in Johnson County. A week ago today is when it all really began. Flooding that you don't see not even as often as once in a lifetime for many places and parts of eastern Kentucky and elsewhere. But even though I have been out of town and out of the loop, so to speak, for a week, everyone well knows of the devastation that struck Johnson County, particularly for the residents in Flat Gap and Route 172. This video was taken yesterday afternoon, brought back into the newsroom today as I'm just now coming in to see it as well, and it shows very well the aftermath a week later. Homes pushed upon homes, nowhere close to their original location and certainly condition, all marked with the orange paint that marks that they have been searched thoroughly for anyone possibly inside. 4 dead, several people injured, but no life-threatening injuries with the exception of the 4 souls that were lost as a result. The stories continue to come out of Johnson County. We'll be focusing on some of those as soon as I make my way into the area beginning on tomorrow, about tales of courage and fear and then support that has been bestowed upon this community from all over the state of Kentucky and elsewhere. We know that FEMA was on ground over the course of the weekend. They have gone through the area. They have traveled to Johnson County specifically to assess the situation. They'll take that information back to the state level and then on to the federal level. It will go from there, most assuredly, to be declared a disaster location. Here you can see a field which shows just how serious the pressure and the flow of that ravaging floodwater was for a brief amount of time. Donations of supplies and other items have been pouring in. They have designated the Johnson Central High School for that location. They're also telling me tonight that they have a great quantity thus far, and they know that they'll be needing more donations in the future, but for now, they've issued a phone number at 792-5171 for individuals to call. And if you're asking what on earth this background video has to do with the flooding, well, this is actually some video that I got to take while they were filming the most recent video for Sunday Best over in Prestonsburg. I think I'm back on April the 11th. I got to tag along with a friend of mine who does their video work, and for a song called Four Door, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm sure it's one of the songs they'll be performing this Wednesday at 7 o'clock as they are hosting a benefit show to raise funds for those victims of the flooding in the Johnson Central High School parking lot. So be sure to venture over, see Sunday Best. Donations, of course, the reason, and graciously and greatly accepted. And we're hoping to maybe even get a few words with the group, possibly before, maybe even after as well. But it is this Wednesday, 7 o'clock in the in the parking lot of the Johnson Central High School. And tomorrow we'll be talking firsthand with folks about this and much more as the recovery effort is going to continue on for a long time to come. Starting off your McGoffin Farm Bureau community calendar, just a couple of announcements this evening and a reminder that we're now on at 6 and 11 on Foothills Channel 40. And I'm asking everyone at Foothills to bear with us, please. They have been working very hard to try to isolate some difficulties that they're having with some new equipment that they installed a couple of weeks ago to alleviate any problems on Channel 40. And once it's all in and fine-tuned, it's going to be a major improvement. And it's been a hands-on event for them for the last couple of weeks. They know that they've had a lot of technical difficulties, video and audio and start times, and I just want to let everyone know that they're working very hard on it, and just please bear with us. But the Your News Today, still 6 and 11 on Channel 40. And this question is, have you ever thought about becoming a foster parent? Your local library is hosting an informational session to answer any questions you may have on on or about fostering. And here are the dates. Tomorrow at 9:30, they'll be at the Johnson County Library, and also tomorrow morning at 11, they'll be in the Floyd County Library, and they'll be in the Magoffin County Library this Wednesday at 12:30. I'll remind you about those tomorrow, or at least that one tomorrow. It's a very informal, informational event, so come and have your questions ready. If you have any questions in the meantime, call Melissa Turner at 349-3122. And this is all ahead of and before another event where you can learn more about becoming a foster or adoptive parent, maybe in a little more of a formal setting. This is going to be in the 4th floor of the First Commonwealth Bank over in Prestonsburg. The Cabinet for Health and Family Services is hosting this meeting on July the 30th to hopefully raise awareness and some interest in some of you folks becoming foster parents for the area. Once again, same number applies. Call Melissa Turner at 349-3122. Call me whenever you've got a calendar announcement, birthday, anniversary, or otherwise. And you can always, as you have always been able to, mail them, phone, fax, email, Facebook them. And remember, you can catch programming the following day on yournewstoday.com. In funeral service announcements this Monday, I have been told of the passing of 77-year-old Bessie Lovely Archer, known by many as Bobby, of Raulton, who passed away on yesterday's date. She was preceded in death by her husband, Walter Archer, and she's survived by daughters Deborah Howard, Donna Stevens, and Teresa Bailey. Visitation is going to be after 6 o'clock tomorrow, and then all day Wednesday, with church there at 7. And then anytime prior to services Thursday at 11. This is all from the Saggersville Funeral Home Chapel. Burial will be at the Archer Bailey Cemetery at Raulton. Once again, services to be held for Bessie Bobby Archer, 77 of Raulton, this Thursday morning at 11 from the Saggersville Funeral Home. To get high-speed internet on their state-of-the-art fiber optic network for all of your home and business solutions, or to watch TV without a contract on over 200 digital channels with superb quality, or stay connected with family and friends with 24/7 telephone service you can always depend on, contact Foothills Broadband today. Or just click on their link to the right to find out how they're working to provide the latest in communications at affordable prices with exceptional service at Foothills Broadband. We haven't had an update now for a couple of weeks, so one of my first calls this morning back into the studio was to the Kentucky Court of Appeals to find out if there were any developments in regards to the ongoing case of Magoffin County Judge Executive Charles Hardin, the Board of Elections, and John Montgomery. A representative of the Kentucky Court of Appeals says that the response time puts the next deadline up until around the 27th of this month, 1 week from today. That being the time that John Montgomery has to respond to request for a rehearing filed on behalf of Judge Charles Hardin and the Magoffin County Board of Elections. It won't be until that date, or if the response is filed between now and then, that the information will be forwarded on to the judges and they will consider a rehearing thereafter. So once again, more than likely, we don't expect anything to happen before at least 1 week from today. The next report is one that I brought back from Panama City. And it's one that I actually had plans of holding off for a few days, but there's a segue that brings me to this report tonight, and that is some very, very highly seen video, as was on live TV, of, as you may already know, the surfer which was knocked off of his board by a shark over the course of the weekend. I believe it was yesterday in Johannesburg. I actually met a real-life shark attack survivor that was attacked just earlier this summer to the tune of about a month and a half ago. But the story tonight does go back to Johannesburg, where three-time world champion Mick Fanning, as most everyone around the world has already seen, but here it is again, was knocked off his surfboard on live TV and then punched the animal with his board before swimming off and being plucked from the water by nearby rescuers, totally unharmed during the live televised finals of a world surfing competition in South Africa. The surfer from Australia was struck by the shark from behind and then knocked into the water as he was sitting on his board waiting on his next set in the J-Bay Open in Jeffreys Bay in the Eastern Cape Province. He says that he saw in a flash two fins appear up out of the water, and with a big commotion, he disappeared under the surface. And then a few moments later, what feels like forever, he's seen just furiously trying to swim to safety before one of the nearby rescuers plucks him from the water. He said he felt something grab and then get stuck in his leg rope and then instantly jump away. And then it just kept coming at his board. He started to swim away and then decided maybe he should turn around and defend himself, and that's when he tried to punch the shark in the back. The next person we're going to talk about, though, one I met in Florida, in Panama City, was not so fortunate. This was a much more aggressive attack. Chief Warrant Officer Jason Philip Pollard, 21 years retired from the U.S. Navy Special Forces and a lifelong surfer, says that on June the 7th, he and some friends from Knoxville took a trip down to Jacksonville Beach, and they were near the pier, also where there was a nice set breaking where they were waiting their next ride in.
We were about 60 yards out from the pier, and I'm just sitting there waiting on the next set of waves to come in, and I feel a nice hard solid tap on the bottom of my board, and right away, I've been surfing my whole life, I knew exactly what it was. I knew it was a shark, so I immediately rolled off my board, grabbed a hold of the nose of the board, and started swimming towards shore. In the process of swimming towards shore, he came up, grabbed my left leg all the way up top, and at that point I took my surfboard and rammed him a couple of times, and he's got very, very delicate pores around his upper lip area, and it was enough to let me go, but it was enough to make him even more mad, and he let go for a second, and then that's when he clamped down on the bottom part of my leg right there, and he wouldn't let go. So at that point it was me or the shark. So once again I took my surfboard and started just batter ramming with it, grabbing the front of it, pushing the surfboard fins into his frontal facial area. And after about, it probably seemed like 3 or 4 minutes to me, but it was probably only about 15-20 seconds, and then he just let me go and swam off. And then I caught the next wave into the shore, holding on to the board, and got out of the water, and of course everybody's just panicking. And with all the stuff I've been through with Special Forces and everything, I knew that I was okay. My biggest problem was I thought I might lose my foot because of infection and stuff like that. And Jacksonville beach water is not the cleanest water in the world. So I got out. They life flighted me to St. Luke's Hospital there in Jacksonville. Yeah. And from there, 161 stitches in my foot and 17 staples in my leg.
Pollard says he's still facing at least 6 more surgeries after the first 6-hour surgery the day of the attack. And like many surfers that I've read about, this being the first one that I've met that was actually attacked by a shark, he says he doesn't hold any ill will toward the fish.
For some reason that day, that shark just had a wild hair, and once I started swimming away, I think the electricity that I was given in the water made him think that I was struggling or something, which at that point I was struggling to get away from him, and I think that's why he bit me the second time. I have no ill fate towards sharks or anything. I mean, being a combat diver, I've swam with sharks all over the world, never had a problem with them whatsoever. I've hand-fed sharks in a chain link suit and all of that stuff. I mean, we're men, we're invading their territory.
I was actually just waiting on a good meal, some fish that hadn't bitten anybody else, walking down a pier watching the day's catch come in, and saw him talking to some folks and showing a picture on his phone to them, and I thought it was a fish story. It was not the kind of fish story I was expecting. This, of course, in lieu of all the other stories as of late, counting those 11 or so shark bites and or attacks on the East Coast in the past few weeks alone. That indeed is the very first person I have ever met to be bitten by a shark. Not that I would want to meet someone else. I hope that maybe I won't meet another one to say that maybe no one else will be bitten. But, of course, there are dangers lurking in the water. Showers and storms are lurking above, but they've been moving mostly to the south of the viewing area and will continue to do so for the most part throughout this evening. Doesn't mean you won't see a few, as we are under a flash flood watch until tomorrow evening, as well as a warning of about 50% threats of showers and thunderstorm developing throughout the overnight tonight, with a low of around 71. Mostly cloudy skies will continue tomorrow into your into your Tuesday, obviously, with around 84 degrees and a still threat of showers and thunderstorms. There is some good news on the horizon in the forecast. It comes in the form of high pressure, which by Wednesday will take hold, and we'll see conditions change. Hopefully, the forecast won't change, and we'll see mostly sunny, clear, and calm skies and dry Wednesday with a high of around 80 under mostly sunny skies. I've got mostly sunny and 80 Thursday, sunny and 82 on your Friday, sunny and 86 on your Saturday, and not a word or mention of precipitation throughout either of those days. We do have some tonight and into your tomorrow and tomorrow night, but midweek on, we should be sitting pretty at least for a while. And once again, thank you so much for tuning in and being with us tonight. For those on the Foothills feed, bear with us. I've talked to them today. They're working feverishly to try to get the new equipment that they've implemented in the past couple of weeks fine-tuned and all the bugs out. We're hopeful that at any time it's going to be a much bigger and better delivery of the news. So bear with us. We'll try to have all the audio and video problems associated ironed out and back up and running and better than ever very, very soon. I'm so glad to be back in your homes this evening. We'll be back tomorrow night with more of Your News Today. We hope to see you then. For now, thank you for watching.